Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? Do not keep striving for what you're to eat and what you are to drink. Do not keep worrying. It is the nations of the world that strive after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." And I will stop the reading at that point. The word of the Lord. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, the English poet in the Victorian era, wrote a short 4-line poem that I really like. It is this: "Earth is crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. And only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit round it and pluck blackberries." There's so much beauty and splendor that surrounds us each and every day, and we so often don't notice because we may be more intent on the blackberries. And that's really one of the values of taking a vacation. To give ourselves some time to look at what is around us, to look at what surrounds us, to take note of that beauty and that splendor. For me, sitting on a beach and watching the constancy of the water. Watch the tide come in, watch the tide go out. Just sitting there and watching that is wonderful. It's a delight. I can do that for a very long time. I once had an opportunity when I was at a campsite in the Pocono Mountains when I was in college to see more stars in the night sky than I had ever seen before in my life. The camp was dark, but the sky was lit up with stars. And I felt a bit like Abraham when God took him outside and showed him the sky and said, "How many stars do you see?" And Abraham said, "I can't number them." And God said, "Right, but that's how many your descendants shall be." And I was also so reminded on that night of Psalm 8. When I look at the heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast established. What is man? I know it's masculine language. What is man that thou art mindful of him? The son of man that thou dost care for him. Yet, O Lord, you do. That's a wow moment. Seeing how one river over a huge expanse of time can carve out from large mountains what we now call the Grand Canyon is stunning. Or in years past, as I mentioned earlier, planting some seeds in a garden in the backyard, watching some flowers grow, or watching cucumbers or beans grow from those tiny little seeds. That's remarkable. Yet so often we don't notice a lot of that. Consider the lilies, how they grow, Jesus says. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you that Solomon in all his glory, and by the way, Solomon was very rich and he had a Manafort-like wardrobe. Solomon was not clothed like one of those lilies. Have you looked at the lilies recently? Have you looked at the flowers? Have you watched the birds of the air? How they fly and soar? Now, I know that birds can sometimes make noise outside our windows at a time when we really wish they would wait until a decent hour to make that noise. 2 years ago, when we were in Esteli, Nicaragua, there were some birds that came into the courtyard of the hotel where we were staying. Donna and I were not next to that courtyard. We were in another area of the hotel. But some of our group was right by that courtyard. And those birds had choir practice every morning at 4:45. Not good timing. But maybe because I was not there next to the courtyard, I could imagine that they were singing their praise to God each and every morning. So much beauty, so much splendor surrounds us. You have many different ideas, many different thoughts, memories about some of the beauty that you have seen over the years. How is it that some of those things are so beautiful? How is it that so much of this creation is interdependent on other aspects of the creation for life, and yet it all can thrive? So much beauty in God's creation, so much of that beauty is so critical for our lives and for the life of the world. Water, air, trees. How does it all fit together? And in many ways, yeah, you can give me some scientific explanations, but in many ways, there's a mystery about all of this. Something to be noticed, something to be entered, something to be enjoyed, but sometimes it can't be fully explained. But we're a people who want to have everything explained. And if it can't be explained, then we'll try to make up some things to try to explain it so we can have our answers anyway. We can't really understand the random nature of things like earthquakes or tornadoes or terribly devastating fires like what's taking place in California. And so we take the lead from insurance companies and we call them acts of God. Are they really acts of God? Some would say, well, if the insurance company says that's what they are, then our theology has to agree with that. Or if something tragic happens to someone close to us, sometimes we say, or others trying to console us will say, I guess it was God's will. God has a plan. Blame it all on God. God knowing about something, as God is all-knowing, is far different from God directing that certain things happen. And the thing is, I don't think we are supposed to know the why behind all things. Maybe in time we'll learn what can grow out of certain things, even certain terrible, tragic things. But there is much in life, there is much in nature, there is much in the life of faith, there is much in our theological seeking that lies beyond our grasp. But we don't have to try to figure it all out. We are called to trust God in the midst of all things, and to trust that God is present with us at all times, even in those times where we're really not sure that God is present, or when things take place that are far different from how we think God should be doing things, or far different from the way we tell God God should be doing things. In the book of Hebrews, we hear these very important words. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Jesus, at the end of the 15th chapter of John, says, "In the world you face persecution. But take courage, I have overcome the world." Take note that Jesus did not say, "I've explained the world." He said, "I've overcome the world." We're to trust Him to be present with us, even if we can't figure all things out. Or think of what we say about God, that God is three in one, blessed Trinity. Has anybody ever figured out the Trinity? It's still a mystery. It still is outside our understanding. But we're not called to explain the mystery. We are called to enter into it and allow that mystery to enter into us. We're called to trust and even to celebrate, not to explain. As we are soon to come to this table and be fed by God, as Jesus is the host at this table, can we really understand the idea that this bread is Jesus' body? The cup is the new covenant poured out in Jesus' blood? Can we really figure out what we mean by real presence, which is how we understand Jesus being present in the sacrament, we in the Reformed tradition, as opposed to the elements literally becoming the body and the blood of Christ, as other denominations believe? So much of this is wrapped in mystery, in that which we cannot yet know. Remember that Paul says in 1 Corinthians, "Now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we shall see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known." I can't explain how God exists as three in one. I can't explain how God is present with us always. I can't explain resurrection. I can't explain the power of this sacrament. So much of it is mystery. So much of it calls me not to seek to have it explained, but to trust God in the midst of the mystery. And so much of this is good if we are looking to the love and the grace and the compassion and the mercy and the power of God. So celebrate the mystery of life. Celebrate the mystery of God's creation. Celebrate the mystery of God's grace. Celebrate the mystery of this sacrament. Celebrate it all. Enter into it. Allow it to enter into you. And as you come to this table, take off your shoes. As you come into the presence of the Holy God. This is my body broken for you. This is my blood shed for you. Let that truth, let that mystery enter you and fill you, so that you will say with hope and with faith and with joy and with peace, "Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. May it be so." Amen. And amen.